There's a fire on the horizon and some crying in the hill. Smoke is blocking out the blue.
If you've tuned into WMSE any time over the past decade while I've been on the air, either hosting the City Rock Showgram, or filling in on Pound Cake Punk, or the Rock Kaleidoscope, it's almost certain that you've heard me play a song or two from the Lawrence Arms, or the Falcon, or Brendan Kelly and the Wandering Birds. And that is why today's episode is so special, because I finally had a chance to sit down and chat with Brendan Kelly from those aforementioned bands. Brendan will be on a solo tour this summer where he'll be performing at some unique locations, including Four Seasons Total Landscaping in Philadelphia. In anticipation of this tour, which kicks off July 30th in Milwaukee at the Cooperage, Brendan took the time to chat with me about what's new in his world and what we can expect when he heads to Milwaukee on July 30th. Here's my conversation with Brendan Kelly. How's your pandemic going?
It sucks. It sucks. It really is. Like at first I felt like I had a real like stiff upper lip about the whole thing. Like we put out a record and we were like, I was exercising and doing a lot of stuff. And now, by the end, I'm like, yeah, I'm just like I'm literally in a tracksuit right now. I haven't exercised in months. I'm just like, whatever. Who cares if we live or die at this point,
How do you feel now? Because it seems like things are getting back to normal, but like they're not. I mean, it's just like we're in this like weird limbo right now.
Yeah, the thing that's so weird is that I'll wake up at like 6 a.m. and I'll panic about like, oh God, you've got to go on tour, which is like, I've never had that feeling before, or like, oh God, the Lawrence Arms have to play, a show in Vegas, or we have to play Riot Fest. And like, I don't even know if I can do that because I've never spent this much time without playing. And I've never spent this much time not around people. And I think it's led to a little bit of agoraphobia. Mm-hmm. My friends were having a party and I was like, I don't want people to see me. Like I see myself every day, but I'm sure I look terrible compared to what they remember. And it's like, it's just like all of this like sort of irrational, like, because I really don't care what people think I look like, for one thing. And for another thing, I've played with the Lawrence Arms, I've played solo so many times that I am positive that like, it's going to be fine. But there's this irrationality that has like crept into me during this pandemic, which I think has contributed to the sort of general sloth and malaise that I think a lot of people feel, I mean, I feel like there's two kinds of people, which I know is a stupid phrase, because it's like, there's two kinds of people. There's my daughter and everyone else, and, so it's a dumb thing, but I feel like there's people that like really took this opportunity to like work on improving themselves in whatever way there was to do it. And then people that just kind of like gave up. And I definitely started out the first way, but ended up the second way. The second way won for sure.
I mean, looking at your tour that kicks off in Milwaukee on July 30th, this is a kind of interesting tour because it's, you're playing some venues, you're playing some breweries, you're playing a house show, you're playing a pool party. But like, how did this tour come about, and how do you prepare for a tour where the venues are going to pretty much change every day?
Well, the tour came about because I was talking to Toby, who's he's like my best friend. He's my manager, my tour manager. Like every single thing that goes on with any band I do that is not on the stage, basically Toby is doing, right? He is he's much more integral to the operation than I am, I think, even on a solo show. And he was like, hey, do you think we should like maybe try to see about doing something in summer? It looks like this vaccine's going to get rolled out, and maybe we can do something if we're like responsible about it, and we do it outside, and we keep it all socially distanced and safe. Do you want to like try it? That's why it's called the Here Goes Nothing tour, you know? And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I got to get back out there because like we were just talking about, it's like, the only way you got to get back up on the horse that bit you. In this case, you got to get back up on the horse, like, because the ground bit you or whatever. But, so I wrote a statement that says something like, hey, if the vaccine rolls out as planned and if people start taking it, if it looks like things are starting to settle down, and if we can find a bunch of outdoor venues, you know, I'll play your barbecue in your backyard. I'll play your pool party, you know, or like a big brewery that's got a lot of open space, whatever. Like, then maybe we're going to try to tour this summer. Any interest? And the response was overwhelmingly positive, but there was just a few like complete naysayers that were like, oh, so this is it. Your ego's so hungry that you need to, you know, that you need to get out there and be in front of the people, even though you know it's going to cost lives. And one of those same people, who was like actually the most vocal, has already asked for tickets for one of the shows. So that's cool. But you know, like we just tried to figure out how to do something responsibly. I mean, this is sort of like the way that we've always worked, you know, and I'm talking about like the Greater Lawrence Arms organization here, or like as a holistic, like sort of, if you want to call it a corporation. I mean, that sounds really not punk, but if you just like, you know, take into account all the bands that are part of it, like that's the easiest way to phrase it. And like, we always just try to think like, what can we do that's just a little bit more interesting, you know? And like, how can we make this work? Even though, I mean, like the Lawrence Arms is a band that like we made it work, even though like at first we were all not very good at stuff. Our instruments are singing, you know? And like, you know, when we did this War on Christmas show this past year, which is our annual sort of Christmas event that we do, and it's usually live. It's usually 3 nights in Chicago. I know a lot of people from Milwaukee come down. Shout out to any of you who have.
I'm one of them, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. And you know, and we had to figure out another way to do it. So we did a variety show, and we got a bunch of people on, and they did like covers of our songs, and we had a great host and Kyle Kinane. And it was awesome, you know, and like, but it was the same kind of thinking. It was like, what can we do that we could like make this work actually, you know? And so like Toby and I kind of like brainstormed this. I think Toby really took the lead, as he usually does for almost everything. And it started coming together, and it's going to be weird, man. It's going to be totally weird. I mean, I've done acoustic tours, and I've done acoustic tours in Europe. And I mean, that's about as close as I think I can get to this, except for like those tours I always did by train, which is fun. But like, you know, like we're in England one day playing in like an old public toilet, and then we're the next day in, you know, I don't know, Hamburg playing in like a abandoned castle, you know, stuff like that, where it's like, so I've been on tours where things change pretty quickly. I think the thing is that this is like it's a pretty small operation. It's just going to be me and Toby and my guitar, and you know, it all kind of lives and dies on like if I can do what I'm supposed to do, and I have confidence I can. So I think it's going to be fun.
I know for myself and probably a lot of people, this is going to be like their first show, you know, since the pandemic. Do you feel any added pressure?
No, well, I'll tell you what, not for nothing, I don't think there could be any more pressure. Like I already told you, I'm like kind of losing my mind, just like at the idea of like, can I still do this? I don't know if I can still do this. I don't know if I know the songs. But you know, I'm going to play a wedding of a friend's here in Chicago this weekend on Friday. And then on Saturday, I fly out to Boston to play a barbecue. And those are basically my rehearsals for this tour. So by the time I get to Milwaukee, baby, you better believe I'm going to be like a well-oiled machine 2 weeks later after doing that and crying because it was terrible. No, it's going to be great. And I mean, I'm going to actually like do a lot of rehearsing. I bought a special new DI and all this kind of stuff. I'm excited for it. It's just like, you've got to know what I'm saying. It's like everything seems daunting and crazy now.
Yeah.
And I don't have the fear of the virus. I don't have the fear of like, I have the fear of like sort of like, what have I become in the course of this? And like, am I still fun? Am I still cool? Did I like become like grotesquely ugly? Did I lose the ability to do like the few things that I could do? Like these are real fears, and I mean, like those are the fears that are like part and parcel with aging. And I'm like not a young guy anymore. I'm, middle-aged man doing something that's like very much like a young man's game. And I feel lucky that I've been able to do it for as long as I can. But like, this is just really like, if this pandemic hadn't come by, I'd be sailing into this like, hey, no problem. Like I'm the guy, I can still do it. And now I'm like, I don't know if you're the guy. I don't know if you can still do it.
One of the big highlights of this tour just made a lot of news, of course, is the August 21st show that you're playing with Laura Jane Grace at the Four Seasons Total Landscaping. How did that come about? And I mean, how do you feel like you've been kind of thrust into the limelight after kind of announcing the show?
Well, I mean, obviously there's like a publicity aspect to it that like we couldn't it would be so disingenuous of me to be like, what, thrust into the spotlight for doing this? That's crazy. Yeah. Oh, I don't believe it. It's like, of course we knew it was going to be like the kind of thing that people were going to gravitate to. And like, kind of why we did it. But it's not really just a goof. It's like, so we're, like I said, we're trying to find these like outdoor venues, and we're talking in Philly, we're like having a little bit of a hard time. And the promoter that Toby likes there, Toby books me as well, by the way, if that's not clear. Like I said, everything. Was like, oh, I've got a show. I've got a spot, but like I'm still working on them a little bit, but I've been waiting for the right artist, and Brendan seems like the right artist for this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to push this through. It's, and then Toby comes to me and he's like, rubbing his hands together like Gargamel or something. And he's like, okay, dude, here's the Philly show. Four Seasons Total Landscaping. And I was like, no, that's going to be amazing, and then so, but the whole thing was that the people at Four Seasons, they're landscapers, right? Like they're not like show bookers or anything like that. So they came back and were like, we need to make sure that this is a home run. If we're going to like make this juke, and like, and I mean, they're still like, hey, we got to make sure it's done by this time. Cause like, the girls got to mulch in the morning, like they're,
yeah,
they're still a total landscaping place. But so they were like, we just want to make sure this is a home run. And I think we were like, well, I think it would be a home run. I don't think there's a question that it would be a home run, but they needed a little more reassurance. Like they'd never, seen me in the Rolling Stone or whatever. And, which is fine. But then, so Toby's like, who do we get? And we brainstormed it for a while, and we were like, yeah, Laura is like every bit as much of a like loudmouth rabble rouser as me. Yeah, let's do that, and it adds a little star power, and it like adds a little media juice too. So, the whole thing, and now the whole thing has become just so fun. And, and like, it's talk about something that there's been no negative attention on. Like I really didn't. I really expected like, somebody from like, I don't know, not Fox. That's a little too big, but like OAN or something like that to be like, And what are you trying to do, disrespecting the hallowed grounds versus the total landscaping, you know? So, but no, everybody's like, this is amazing. And I'll tell you what, it's probably the most high profile show I'll ever play in my life. Like for a 300-person show in front of a garage outside, it's pretty amazing to say. Like I've played in front of like 60,000 screaming Belgians, and, you know, and this is bigger than that.
Are there any plans to document the show at all?
So I don't know how much here's the thing. I think everybody's got an idea of how they want to document it, and I think some of those ideas are at cross purposes. And like I think Four Seasons Total Landscaping wants to like monetize the whole thing further. I think we want to monetize the whole thing further. And I don't mean to sound like a businessman, although I just called my band's corporation. So I'm doing a bad job of that. But it's like, I feel without knowing for sure, I feel like there's going to be a point where like they're going to be like, hey, we want to do this. And we'll be like, okay, cool. We want to do this. And they'll be like, no, you can't do that. We're doing this. And like there'll be another conversation to be had. So I don't really know. But you know what? You used an interesting word, which is document, which might be more interesting because I think that everybody was talking about a live stream. And, you know, maybe it's better to just like do like an in-house like thing. That could be even something where maybe that's the elegant solution. So thank you. That's really smart.
So looking at this being back on the road for the first time and, you know, the first chance to get out there since Skeleton Coast has released, are you planning to play Skeleton Coast songs?
I know I'm definitely going to play Skeleton Coast songs, if for no other reason because I really like how a few of them like go acoustic. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, like we put out records so rarely and I don't want the show to be like, oh, I saw this 8 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, like I have to mix it up. I mean, I'd love to do covers, but like my brain is disintegrated since this COVID. I mean, I tried to do Poncho and Lefty, which is like probably my favorite song of all time by Townes Van Zandt. And tried to do it on a live stream and I couldn't remember the words. Like a song I've listened to more than I've listened to probably any other song. It's not a Lawrence Arms song, excuse me. And so I don't know, like I mean, I also think that getting back out will be like almost like a miracle pill in terms of like just being like, oh, like that thing in The Simpsons where like I don't remember what happens, like the TV, oh, they shut off Itchy and Scratchy and all the kids come outside and they're like, I remember this. And then they start jump roping and stuff, you know? Like I feel maybe that's like wishful thinking and I'm just like looking for a magic bullet for something that's, you know, like a bigger issue. But I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you think? Do you find yourself like, you find it harder to think and like remember things? Or maybe that's just a product of my age. And like, I do have so many songs. Yeah. Like at a certain point, like I'm going to run out of room in my head. Yeah. So there's also that, but I would like to placate your listeners by saying that's not happening at the Milwaukee show. It's going to be perfect. And if it's not, like, you know, I've always been more of a song and dance man anyway when it comes to acoustic, you know, like I can mess up and tell jokes. It usually seems to work out okay. Well, I wasn't just one kid standing on another kid's shoulders in the trench, 'cause you'd be in trouble, buddy. If I wasn't in a tube rolling down the Quad City rivers in the summer, I'd be under something tubby to the coast where the bones.
There's a lot more of my interview with Brendan Kelly, which we'll be splitting into two parts. Part 2 will air on the August 4th edition of the City Rock Showgram. We'll conclude Part 1 with Brendan responding to a question I asked about what he plans to do with some of the songs that he wrote that didn't make it on to the Skeleton Coast record.
I am I I don't know, man. I actually kind of second guess if I put the right songs on the record at some points because like I really like some of the ones that didn't make it, but um, I'm I'm definitely going to play at least one of those songs on this tour, probably every day. So look forward to it, Milwaukee. The song you've never heard performed acoustically by a guy who's, you know, out of practice.
Well, I'm just getting by. Well, I'm pale and I'm quiet. I'm just killing time in the other right. Kiss your boy.